bring up the slides. Just one moment. Okay. Alrighty. Is everybody able to see my screen right now? Great. All right. So first of all, a big thank you to everybody from New Zealand and also around the globe for being here. Joe and I are super excited to bring this continual professional development webinar to you on coaching for personal fulfillment. Now, coaching for personal fulfillment personal fulfillment, I should say, is something that comes up in all of our coaching sessions, whether it's in a personal capacity or a professional capacity. Fulfillment is something that we are all aspiring towards. So what are we going to cover in our session? First of all, Joe's going to take you through what is personal fulfillment. And we're then going to look at value alignment and personal fulfillment and how those two things really go hand in hand together. We're then going to move on and explain the values cycle to you, and it will become really evident that our values have a huge impact on our beliefs, on our choices, moving forward onto our actions. And then we're going to move on to looking at, in a coaching conversation, when our clients are out of alignment with their values, it creates a sense of reactivity. And so we're going to be looking quite practically at clues to recognise what shape and form reactivity comes in within a coaching conversation. And when we can look at that, it will really help us to bring our clients back to alignment. We then going to move on to looking at some case studies of some of Joe and my clients. And also we'd love to hear if you have any examples of what we're saying resonates with you. And we'd love you to share also at this point. And then moving on to breaking through that reactivity. It's all good and well to understand that there's reactivity present, that our clients are out of alignment, but what do we do with that? So we're going to show you some techniques in terms of providing an observation and looking at some powerful questioning to help realign our clients and to hold them true and accountable to their new intention. So we have a very full night tonight, which I'm really excited about. And at the end, I'm sure we will have some time to hear your insights and also any questions that you've got. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Joe.
Thank you, Sarah. When Sarah and I started to work on this webinar for you all on personal fulfillment, we did quite a bit of research. We looked at our own case studies, and we had a lot of discussion about what we felt personal fulfillment is. And we've come up with a definition that we feel is in alignment with our thinking. And it is the achievement of life goals which are important to an individual in contrast to the goals of society, family, and other collective obligations. Now, as we're going through the webinar tonight, it's really important that you think about the individual who your client is, and that it is their values, it is their personal fulfillment that we're looking for. It's not about, there are no shoulds, there are no rights or wrongs. It's not about what their family says they should be or what society says this individual should be. I think, you know, I think we've all done things in our lives where we're not in alignment with our core values. And, you know, when that happens, when you're out of alignment, you can physically feel that you're out of alignment. You can emotionally feel it, even sometimes spiritually. So when we are out of alignment with our values, we are not going to achieve personal fulfillment. Next slide, please. Value alignment. When we have value alignment, we're able to create personal fulfillment. When we're unaligned with our values, when we're conditioned by society, conditioned by family to do what is expected, those aren't our values. They're our family's values or society's values, and we are unaligned, and therefore we are not creating personal fulfillment for ourselves. But when we are aligned with what is truly important to us, when that happens and we know it, we can then attain personal fulfillment. Next slide, please, Sarah. Now, when we look at the values cycle, sometimes we don't even know what our values are because we've been so conditioned by society and family that we're not sure what our values are. So we're really using other people's values or expectations or shoulds of what they think we should be or do. And those things color our beliefs and our thoughts, and then the choices that we make and the actions that we take. But when we are in alignment with our values, those beliefs, thoughts, choices, and actions that we take, they are really true to us, and we are in flow when that happens. I want to tell you a little bit about a young man named Steve. Can you go back, Sarah, if you wouldn't mind? That's all right. A young man named Steve who was the eldest in his family, and he was the eldest male. And his grandfather was an accountant, and his grandfather started this very successful accounting firm, which his father went in his grandfather's footsteps, and his son Steve, who was the eldest son, was supposed to carry on into the family business and also become an accountant. So this had been ingrained in him since he was about 10 years old. So he did what he was supposed to do. He went to university. He became an accountant, and he was at the firm for 2 years. And after 2 years, he became incredibly frustrated with his life. Can we have the next one? So when your clients come to you and they are out of alignment with their values, they are going to be in a very reactive state. And they're going to show this in one of two ways. One was frustration, and one way is avoidance. Next slide, please. Now, when Steve called me, this accountant client that I had, young accountant, he called me after he'd been at his family business for 2 years. And when he spoke on the phone, his voice was very constrained. He was speaking very, very fast. And I thought, sounds like there's a bit of frustration. This is what I was thinking. Anyway, we made our appointment. He came to see me. And there were some clues that I began to recognize. When I was recognizing his frustration and realizing that he was out of alignment with his values and not able to create personal satisfaction for himself and personal fulfillment, what I noticed was he was very angry with his father. He was angry with his grandfather. He was even angry with his girlfriend because she thought he should just be happy. He was making a lot of money and that was going to help them with their future. I also noticed he was exercising blame. He was blaming his father and grandfather for putting him in a situation of having a career that he didn't want. And he was also experiencing a real lack of control in his own life about the decisions he was making. Not only a lack of control there, but every time a client would leave, he would kind of lack control with his secretary, who he would kind of lash out at, and she wasn't even doing anything wrong. He also had a sense of real guilt that he felt he was supposed to do what his father and grandfather had always expected him to do, but he was also feeling regret that he didn't do what he actually wanted to do with his life. So during our coaching conversation, he realized that of two very strong values for him was connection and making a difference. Now, he didn't feel any connection with his accounting clients sitting across from him, and he didn't really care about making a difference whether they were going to save on their taxes or not. That wasn't the kind of difference that he wanted to make, or the kind of connection. What he realized he would really fulfill him and give him personal fulfillment with regard to these values of connection and making a difference. He realized he really wanted to become a teacher. So he had to pluck up the courage, have the hard conversation with his father and his grandfather, and he ended up leaving the company, leaving the security, and leaving all the things that he was supposed to do to become a teacher, and he went back to teacher training college. He ended up getting a really fantastic teaching job in a very high-profile private school and teaching teenagers. And he was so excited by that because he could really connect with them and he felt he could make a difference to them. And not only that, he became a maths teacher because he was so good at maths. So that was just to help you recognize when you are looking in your coaching conversation for clues about frustration, when your client is out of alignment with their values and not creating personal fulfillment, look for their pitch, tone, or pace in their voice. If they're angry or blaming others, if they're feeling a lack of control, if they're feeling guilt, and also regret. These will be good clues for you. Sarah's going to talk to you about Rachel.
Okay. So just on that similar note, I have an example of a client who came to me for coaching and engaged in my Balancing Life and Heals coaching program. And in this program, I work with executive women around creating personal fulfillment and professional fulfillment, so success in both areas. Now, Rachel was a very successful executive woman, but on the other hand, she was a wife and mother of two. And when I engaged Rachel and she started coming for coaching, it was really evident that there was a lot of built up frustration within her. She was frustrated with her employer because she was just so busy. There was not enough time in the day for Rachel. She was frustrated with her husband because her husband finished work before she did. And she would still need to come home, clean up the house, do her wifely duties of cooking dinner, motherly duties, bathing the kids, reading them bedtime stories, getting their lunches ready for the next day. And there was just, she was feeling a real sense of a lack of personal fulfillment. She was also feeling angry and frustrated with herself because she knew that she had actually taken these promotions and she got into this position. Guilt was also there for Rachel. She felt as though she really wanted to be an active mother in her child's life. She really valued family on a deep level. And she just felt guilty that she couldn't attend all her children's sports games. Her son played soccer, her daughter had dance recitals, and all around she just felt she was completely out of alignment. So through our coaching, we were able to uncover that two of Rachel's core values, one was family and what that meant to her, and the other was autonomy and freedom to work her own hours. And as a result of the coaching, we were able to actually bring a medium-term goal of being a freelance business consultant forward. She knew within herself that in order to be in alignment with what really drove her at her deepest core, she needed to make a decision. She decided to leave her very top role in corporate and she moved out into being a freelance business consultant. She had the track record, and since then, this was probably a year ago, she's extremely successful in her consulting role. She works her own hours and she hasn't missed a game of her son's soccer. So it's really about listening for those clues, that reactivity, which can come in the form of either frustration or avoidance, and that's what we're going to talk about shortly. Helping your clients to identify what is most important, connect with their own core values, and really help them stay true to this new intention as they move forward and create the changes that need to be made in order to realign themselves with what is going to give them ultimate personal fulfillment. So we've spoken a little bit about the type of reactivity that we can recognize in our clients. That was frustration. We're now going to move on to avoidance. So in our coaching conversations, we need to be listening if our clients are avoiding the issue. They may be avoiding certain important conversations that need to be had. They might be avoiding people or commitments or responsibilities. These are all clues that our clients are actually out of alignment. They're in a reactive state. It can also show up as a lack of ownership. It can show up as self-sabotage. For example, if somebody is setting goals for themselves, yet they keep self-sabotaging, it can seem quite obvious, actually, that your client's values may be out of alignment with that end result. Maybe a promotion. Maybe somebody values family, quality time. They may self-sabotage their efforts to achieve that promotion. It can also show up as procrastination. Procrastinating, that can be quite a big one. Keeping busy doing other things is another one. I mean, I had a client who was extremely dissatisfied in her relationship, and she would keep herself so busy in her career that she didn't actually have to face the problem at hand, the fact that she was no longer happy in her marriage. It can also show up as using alcohol or drugs to avoid the situation, to mask it. Now, Jo has one of her clients, and we'll call her Charlotte, and where avoidance really showed up.
So I'll tell you a little bit about Charlotte. She was a young woman, and just a little bit about what had happened in her experience. Her parents were very, very successful business people. And her sister was a very, very successful engineer. And Charlotte wasn't very successful at all in anything. So she talked to her parents, and her parents said, look, why don't you go to university and go to business school? You're really smart, you can do it. So they said, we'll pay for you to go to university. So Charlotte went to university for business school, and she flunked out in her first year. It was a total lack of ownership. She procrastinated on every assignment. She didn't take any responsibility for her university, and she ended up flunking out. So then she went and she talked to her mother, and her mother said, listen, you'd be a really good nurse because you like to nurture people. So she thought, okay. And they said, we'll pay for you to go to university, to nursing school. So she went to nursing school, and what do you think happened? She flunked out in the first year. At that point, her parents came to me and paid me, as they paid for her university also. And after a number of coaching sessions with Charlotte realized that yes, she did love to nurture. That was something that was really strong for her, but she didn't really love nurturing people. That's why she flunked out of nursing school, because she really, people were okay, but she didn't want to help them. But what she realized is that she absolutely loved animals. So she ended up going to become a vet nurse and went to vet nursing school. She actually graduated with honors. She got a wonderful job as a vet nurse in a really fantastic veterinary clinic. She is now engaged to be married and is even thinking that she might even become a veterinarian. So again, it was Charlotte finding what was really important to her in order to give her personal fulfillment so that she could feel satisfied within her life.
Thanks, Jo. So we'd like to now open it up to you all. Does anybody have an example, either in a professional or a personal capacity, how you've helped a client experiencing either frustration or avoidance to realign with their values and attain personal fulfillment? I'd love to hear from maybe 1, 2 of you.
Hi, Sarah. I have an example for you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Are you okay? I had a client months or so ago who came to me feeling like she was hopeless at her job. She was in a management role. She thought, it's not for me. I'm not good enough at this. And we worked through her values, and even just that one session, the values landed so powerfully with her that she realized that she just wasn't taking ownership of what she was trying to achieve. And so she thought she couldn't vision what the team should be doing, but then she realized she was just a bit afraid to go the big step that she needed to do. So by recognizing that actually, no, she was right for what she was doing, it's just she was avoiding taking the hard steps that needed to be made to make the team what she wanted it to be and what it needed to be. And yeah, within a week, she took action and started the process to change the things that were happening in the team. And yeah, so that was really powerful. And within 3 sessions, she was two actually, she was on track with that, and we're moving on to relationship stuff. So yeah, it was incredibly powerful. Just one session of values is really amazing. She found that fulfillment and that alignment.
Fantastic, Lisa. Thank you so much for sharing that. It really sounds that just by reconnecting herself with what really drove her at her deepest core has made a huge impact for her moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'd love to hear another example that somebody's had with one of their own clients. No need to be shy. Does anybody else have anything?
Can I go, Sarah?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Hi.
Yeah, hi. I've got an example. Like, I had a client and she was going through a very complicated process of divorce. And she wasn't accepting it, that she had a very hard time, her life was messed up, but she was unable to accept it. Somehow she thought that she still loved her husband, although she was in a very abusive relationship. And things were not working out for her, and it was quite complicated, but she just kept denying it. And she said that I love that man and I want to be with him. And it took me around, I think, 3 or 4 sessions with her. It was very complicated. And how it happened, I noticed that at the end of the session, the 4th one or 3rd one, she started talking about, the same thing. Like, I noticed the frustration, and she said that, I think I've been trying to ignore the fact that that man didn't want to live with me, and it was me who wanted to be with him. So all that time she had been trying to avoid the fact that in order to make a marriage, both parties have to be in it. So it was hard. I can feel that still, the tension coming back. It was a tense session, and there was guilt, there was avoidance, and all those cues, frustration, and also drugs and things like that. So there were all those things over there in that in that case. So
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. It's another wonderful example. And just by being aware of these clues in terms of either the reactivity in the form of frustration or avoidance, as coaches, it will allow us to not get caught in the detail, not get caught in the content, yet listen at a deeper level and figure out, what are you picking up from what they're not saying? It's going to really help you to realign them with their values if they're out of alignment. So thank you so much, Sarah and Lisa. Appreciate that.
You're welcome, Sarah.
Great. And that that brings me into the next thing we're going to look at. So it's all good and well for us to understand and to be able to pick up on the clues. Okay, yes, they're experiencing reactivity in the form of frustration or avoidance. But what do we do with that? What we need to do is we need to listen beneath the reactivity. So as I said, what are you picking up on that they're not saying? What is behind the frustration or the avoidance? Where are their actions incongruent with maybe what they're saying is most important to them? It's a great way to see where somebody's out of alignment. You can even just ask yourself, or obviously ask your client, and we'll get into that shortly, where are they out of alignment right now? What values are being compromised? So we need to have a step back and look at what they're saying. Don't get caught in the detail. Listen between the words, listen behind the words. What are they not saying? Or what is incongruent? Where might those values be out? And then we need to help them to identify what is most important. So a couple of ways that we as coaches can help hold up the content for our clients, I guess, and to allow them to make the connection. And I've got a couple of examples of observations, and then we're going to move on to some powerful questioning. And this can really help you realign your clients with their values. So an example, you mentioned earlier that your top priority right now is creating a more healthy lifestyle. Talk a bit about how that value fits with this new commitment that you're contemplating at work. Or I'm hearing words like maybe, probably, should and ought to pretty often as you talk about this. What do you think are behind those words? So this will be if there's family or societal obligations or shoulds creeping in. It's helping our clients to get clear on not what society's values are, not what their family's values are, but what is most important to you without the shoulds. Another example, we've been talking about your value of quantity and quality time with family. I'm aware you have a busy schedule, including a full-time job, graduate courses, and your desire to set up a side business. I'm curious how your proposed schedule aligns with your intention of having more time with family. So these are just a couple of examples that we can use to look at providing an observation, a non-judgmental observation for our clients. Another way to help realign our clients is by asking them questions to discover their authentic self. And if you want these questions, I'm sure we can organise to get you the slides. So firstly, what is it that you believe that keeps you from being fully yourself? Powerful question. What have you been avoiding that you're not willing to deal with yet? Maybe an important conversation. It may be a significant issue. Where do you feel out of alignment in your life right now? Where in your life are you not being your authentic self? So this is a good one if you notice your client might be putting on a mask in certain areas in their life. Another interesting one, what is the biggest misconception others have about you? And I love this last one. It sounds like you're feeling out of alignment. Who are you trying to please? So that could have been a good one for Joe's accountant client, Steve. So after we've asked our client some powerful questions or provided a non-judgmental yet powerful observation, we need to be able to hold our clients true to their new intention. A couple of examples to help our clients to stay accountable. How will you know you are in alignment with this new intention of ... Or how can you become more aware when you drop into this negative thinking pattern and become incongruent with your new intention? So it's about creating that, not only the accountability, but also those supports, those internal structures. An interesting one is, what accountability question could I ask right now that would hold you true to your new intention of ... What qualities would you appreciate in an accountability partner? And lastly, how can you hold yourself accountable to your new intention of ... So as coaches, it's important that we not only help our clients to come up with their emerging understanding, but we need to create accountability. We need to ensure that they stay true to their new intention that they've set for themselves. Because without the accountability structure, their emerging understanding may only be short term. Okay. So we'd like to put it to you now. Does anybody have any questions that may help achieve value alignment and personal fulfillment? Any questions that you use as a coach? Any ideas? There's no right and no wrongs.
As Ben always says, this is your learning space.
Sarah, probably something that I've used before is around when they're talking around an area that you can obviously feel there's a lot of emotion and passion around. I've used the words, what about that actually resonates with you intuitively? I can see that there's something about that's actually there's a different reaction to that. Can you talk me through that? And that's been quite helpful. Because often they've realized that there's something going on there, but not necessarily that it's a core value or something that's happening intrinsically for them.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lynn. It's a great one, linking it to what's resonating with them intuitively. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. What other questions do you use with your clients to help them to realign with what is most important to them?
I think for me, Sarah, it's when you notice a change of state, when you see either speeding up or slowing down, or a pondering on a certain point, some sort of inflection, and it's just asking the question. I noticed when you mentioned horse riding, it's like your face lit up or your eyes went down when you mentioned your brother or whatever it is, and just asking them what, I've observed something. So you're actually seeing something that they perhaps are either avoiding or not aware of, and just gently asking, because you can flick it really quickly without sort of creating an issue, a non-coaching event, if you like. So you can notice something and just draw that out.
Fantastic, Dean. Thank you for bringing that up. And that's a really great point. If you noticed a shift in energy, as you said, bring that to your client's attention. Find out what's happening for them as they speak about that. And as you said, Dean, provide that observation. Thank you. Wonderful. Any other ideas from anybody of what they tend to use to help realign their clients in order to create personal fulfillment?
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Kyung-Suk.
Hi. I sometimes use metaphor, just like think about what if you are something, anything else, anything that is you think you are. For example, like a lion, an eagle, a prime optimus, for example, and then that will reflect him or her in the other angle of looking to themselves freely, with their expanding of the the brain, not just stick into the human being, but something else that is very wide, and then they can have a more way of looking into themselves differently.
The power of metaphors. Thank you, Kyung-Suk. That's great. I appreciate you sharing that with us all.
You're welcome.
I love the diversity in terms of the different ways to really help our clients to realign with what is most important. Thank you all. Any other ideas from somebody that we haven't heard from? Okay. With that, we'll move on. Now the floor is all yours. What we would like is if you'd be open to sharing any new insights that you've had as a result of this webinar, or any questions that you still have that you'd like any of our panel to answer tonight. Maybe with that, I will I'll stop sharing and we will turn it back to see everybody's video. So if I could ask everyone to turn on their videos, that would be great. Fantastic. Hi, everyone. Alrighty, so does anybody have any insights or any questions? This is your learning space.
Hi, Sarah. Something from me again. Just probably I'm noticing when you mentioned the avoidance, actually noticing that what is not said is as important as what is said. That is probably something I'm not focusing on as much, and listening out for what is being omitted. As I say, that's probably something I'm taking away from it as well, is that in terms of the avoidance side of things.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lynn. That's really powerful, and I think, just on that point, when we get into a deeper level of listening, we need to listen beyond the words. What is it that we are picking up on by listening between the words and behind the words? And you'll be amazed as you do that, what you're able to pick up on and the impact that that has on your coaching clients within the session. So thank you, Lynn. It's great. What else stood out to you guys? Or what questions
I
do you
think for me,
have?
it's just oh, sorry. Go, away you go.
Go, Dean. Thanks. You there, Dean? Might be internet difficulties.
Yeah, my audio is coming and going a wee bit, so I wasn't sure what was happening. Yeah, really that whole reactive, putting a word to that reactive state and just being able to look at it systematically. The way we have tonight was really good. Some of it you pick up instinctively, but it's good to be able to go back and reflect on the clients that you had and the sessions that you've done and be able to put it through that grid, if you like, and just be on point straight away. I think, like here we are, we have an avoidance behaviour. It's actually a values issue. So hopefully you can hear me because I'm having a bit of trouble with my internet fading in and out.
It's great. Yes, we can hear you, Dean. Thank you so much. Really, I'm glad that stood out to you. And I hope from our webinar that it has given you something tangible, as I guess a bit of a handle in terms of what you are able to pick up on as clues that there's something deeper here, there's something out of alignment. Instead of getting caught in the detail of, oh, you're avoiding XYZ, or you're frustrated with this person, instead of getting caught in the content and going down that route, we're able to stop, step back, and listen for, what values are being compromised here? Well, what is behind this frustration? Or where are they out of alignment? So just pondering this to yourself in the coaching conversation will have a really big impact on making deeper changes or helping your clients to create deeper, more sustainable changes in a shorter period of time.
I have a question or a comment, Sarah, if you have a moment.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa.
I had another client recently who came to me really over the top, frustrated, anxious, just humming with excess stress energy. And I found it, I could see this frustration there was an alignment of where she was going, and we worked through values. But it felt really hard to use any coaching questions because they just didn't land, because she was so much in her stress mode that she wasn't able to listen and listen to herself. And so it was a real sort of a battle for me to figure out how to go with it. She kept saying, I just need to solve these issues that I've got, and these people are a problem. And so she was wanting to stay in the surface, in the detail. And it was a balance between following the client's needs and desires in the moment, but also trying to help her open up and relax a little bit. So it's been quite interesting. Just had a couple of sessions so far, so we'll see how we go. But I've realized sort of in the moment it was really challenging coaching, because it was like, well, nothing I ask her is landing. She just doesn't know. There's nothing underneath. But on reflection afterwards, I realized I just actually need to help her calm down and find that calm space. So whether it's providing advice with calming and other ways of sourcing that. But actually it was interesting because she came back the next week and said, oh, the values thing has kind of come up with something interesting. And she recognized that her personal value of needing to have a family was in major conflict with her work value of needing to be as successful in her work. So she was just in this massive conflict. And so, yeah, she'd sort of realized that herself. So it was amazing. It's been amazing. So we'll see how she gets on over the next month or so. But yeah, I found that really challenging when somebody is so much in that frustration that you just can't talk to them about it. You know, they don't coach very well.
Exactly. They're in that reactive state. And Lisa, I'd love to know from you, as I know you're an experienced coach, what do you do personally to help your client to get into that reflective, contemplative state of mind where they're able to reflect upon your questions at a deeper level?
Yeah, usually, well, and with this client, I was trying to speak slowly. She was like 100 miles an hour talking, and you could tell she was just, and I had to work quite hard not to get my energy brought into that and follow her, because it was quite easy to just, and she even said, oh, sorry, my stress energy is just radiating out of me. I'm affecting you. So she was aware of it. But yeah, in the end, after half of the second session, I'd actually come back and thought about it and thought, okay, I'm going to start to offer her a meditation and say, look, we'll just do a meditation and see if that helps. And in the end, I got a little bit too tied up with her energy, and it was actually most of the way through the session. And I said, look, I think maybe we could just try a meditation, and that really helped her out. So I'll work really hard not to get drawn in next time and just offer her that calm first up. But yeah, I think it's keeping my own calm, so knowing my own self-care routines, knowing my own presence routines, knowing to breathe and not sort of, because when you're in that space of empathy and listening as a coach, it's easy to sort of get dragged into the energy, and so you've got to be quite resistant to that while still empathizing. So it's been interesting watching that dynamic, if you like. When it's with somebody that you easily connect with, it just flows. But when somebody's in that state where they don't connect, it's quite a different feeling. So that was really interesting. But my strategy now is to just always start with a short mindfulness exercise that we both do. Just a recorded one that I'll just play, and just to help her shift from the work mode into just let it go. Yeah. And luckily this client has experienced it herself, so she knows that that's what she needs. She just has forgotten for a little bit, so it's connecting with.
Oh, that's great. Well, best of luck with your sessions. And if I might offer one tool you might use in your session. When our clients are in a reactive state, as Jo mentioned, their pitch, their tone, their pace, it is very fast. And if we can center ourselves, slow our speaking down, eventually your client will settle. And so this is an easy way to help our clients get out of that reactive state and just settle. And that way our clients are going to get best value out of the session. So that might be a little tip or trick you can use, Lisa.
Thanks, Sarah. Absolutely.
Sarah, just following on from that, sorry, I'm realizing I don't really want to sort of be monopolizing it, but they're just things that are popping up.
Yeah, go for it, Lynn. No worries.
something that I've found with a lot of my clients, and the nature of what we're dealing with, they tend to come in and there's that frantic, panicked, this is all a big battle, you know, I'm finding this really, really stressful. And what I was using for my initial session, and I've actually found that it's been helpful for subsequent sessions as well, is firstly, we go through that, you know, do you want to just take a moment to calm down and center yourself? And then I actually also, if I'm seeing that they're in that state, it's just a reminder of, just remember, you're here, we've got this, we're going to get it sorted. This is a different approach, we're on top of it. And with a lot of them, I can actually visibly see them go, and it's almost an element of the coaching that I think we can be prone to forgetting about, that it's the support and the belief in somebody that they can achieve their goals. And so when you're actually saying to them, just relax, remember, we've got this, we're going to get it sorted. It's almost, as I say, I've noticed them actually go, oh yeah, okay, that's where I am here. I'm here again. Yep. Okay. We're back on top of it. You know, this is my place where I'm going to be empowered, and I'm going to be in control of the situation again. And it just some powerful words around your support and the fact that you're not going anywhere. You're there by their side, helping them through this, and I'm not going anywhere until we get there, so don't worry, you know. And that I've actually found really, really effective.
Fantastic. And I really want to acknowledge you, Lynn, just for that sense of partnership and belief that really underpins what we do as coaches.
Yeah, well, that
fantastic.
Definitely is.
Thank you.
That's what allows me to be authentic in what I'm doing. Is it's wholehearted belief that my clients are capable of anything they come to me and want to do. So, yeah.
It's beautiful. Thanks, Lynn.
I just wanted to add, Sarah, when we have our clients in a reactive state, I think something that we need to go back to are the handles that we learned in the training. You know, first of all, to pause, to give the client time to reflect, to slow them down. For us as the coach, pause and slow down, and to ask those very simple questions. You know, what makes that important? You know, what do you mean by? What impact will that have? So I think if we can remember those simple handles that we've been taught, and to pick up on the words, and also maybe even saying to the client, I just want you to stop for a moment and step back. What are you noticing right now? Just to help them to stop. And also remember what else. Okay.
That's great. Thank you, Jo. And I guess I just want to continue on that train of thought a little bit. When our clients are in a very reactive state, whether it's frustration or avoidance, they, within themselves, we need to get out, let me rephrase that. When our clients are in a reactive state, they're in their story. And as Jo was saying, for us to be able to get them out of their story, to stop and reflect, that can really dissipate the reactivity, whether it's in the form of avoidance, whether it's in the form of frustration. And by simply doing that and being artful in your timing, this can make a huge impact on your clients in terms of connecting them with what's important in order to create that personal fulfillment that they so aspire to have. Great, thank you. What other questions or comments do you have, or insights?
Sarah, I've got a question.
Thanks, Sarah.
I've had clients in the past who were not willing to provide, a lot of information. Like they wanted to, wanted me to coach them on a particular subject, but then on the other hand, they were not willing to provide the information. And I noticed that it came from the avoidance. Like they were trying to avoid, giving the information. They were trying to hold back. So I had to ask them that, what is holding you back? What is it
Nice.
that is making you keep that information to yourself? And I tried using different sort of questions, and and especially in terms of the impact, like what would happen if you would avoid talking about that, like I just things like that. But then I feel that it's not that easy, because it doesn't take even, one session. Sometimes it's more than one session, 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions even, to connect with some clients on that level where they would give you the information. And I'm not sure if you can understand me, but I'd be really thankful if you just provide some feedback on that how to handle such kind of situation.
Okay, so there's probably two things that I'd say, Sarah. First of all, we are the expert in the process and our clients are the expert in their content. So as coaches, we don't actually need to know all the detail. So that would be one thing that I would say. The other is, call it how you see it, in a respectful way, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're noticing something within your client, say what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Or even you can flip the question around and ask the client, what do you enjoy most about this behavior or feeling or thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Makes sense? Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Sarah, something that might be helpful for the other Sarah, that was something that I battled with in the initial stages, particularly when you're, and I'm going to be honest, when you're trying to get your hours up and you're looking for people to coach. One of the things I realized was that, and it's something that you and Joe had mentioned to us, that somebody has to want to be coached. And at the beginning of that, it sort of didn't really resonate with me as much. And then there was something that I had remembered from psychology days around the cycle of change, and how you're in different stages and you go through pre-contemplation, contemplation, determination, action, etc. And something that I had to realize was there will be some people who aren't actually ready to be coached, and they're still in that pre-contemplation stage, and they're in that stage of they're thinking about doing something about it, and they're looking at different options out there, but still quite guarded and still quite reserved about it. And I think I had to actually then accept that I can't coach certain people until they're ready to be coached, and they will be ready at some point, but if they're not, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure already. And that's where, when people are being recommended to you as a coach, but they're kind of coming under duress of, oh, my wife thinks I should come for coaching, or that sort of thing. It's just something that I'm very aware of, and where in that cycle of change they might be. Are they actually already at that point of commitment and action and being open to it at that point, which was a lesson I learned the hard way.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn, and you're absolutely right. people need to want to come for coaching. They need to be willing to make that change. And I'm just looking in the chat box, and it looks like Ben has really, he's written something quite powerful, part of which I touched on earlier. So thank you, Ben, for that. And Ben, if you are open to it, I know everybody loves to hear from you, being the founder of Coach Masters Academy. If you want to, feel free to come in and add any of your words of wisdom. We would absolutely love that.
Thank you. Thank you. So what I find coaching people for value systems is that it's not easy to go against the odds. So don't bother to go against the odds. I say asking questions like what holds you, what stops you, what prevents you, because eventually the clients will give you logical answers which they know that I mean, you're asking them a logical question. I mean, you're asking a question to elicit a logical answers, which therefore is going to make it very challenging. So in order to tease them out, especially in this area of, when you know it and you don't do it, there's no point in coaching them by asking them what is stopping you. You see my point? So the way to play with this is to flow with the flow. That means if they know they are not supposed to do it, but they are still doing something else, like they know that they're supposed to wake up at 6 o'clock, but they wake up at 9 o'clock. So just ask them, what do you enjoy about waking up at 9 o'clock? Which is easier to answer the question. Why is it that you like to, what will serve you to wake up at 6 o'clock, which they know they need to wake up at 6 o'clock, or why is it that you like about waking up at 9 o'clock, which they like? So the idea is not to get an answer to what they like, but to open up a window to find out what is it that's supporting them now that has some place in their current context, and then to explore that a little bit so that it gives you some raw data to see how you can replace it with another form that might be comfortable for the client to work on. Make sense? So questions like what I've written on the chat box, so what do you like about it? Then ask how does whatever, and if you're able to find something that really matters to them, then just explore how does those serve them, so that the clients go back to the same awareness space. Okay, so when the awareness begins to open up, when they begin to gain access to not the surface context, but to their intention and operating systems, so you can see that a new wealth of emerging awareness is building up, and hopefully that bypass their logic mind, that allows you to ask the next most powerful or the last most powerful question is, what then needs your attention now, so that you can bring just one small step of positive change to your current situation. Well, it's a sequence of questions, so make sure you don't lose them in any of this sequence. And if you do see them going back to logic mind again, then try to find a way to get them to not think logically. So that's the point, okay? Coaching people for fulfillment, they will have all the good reasons why they should not be doing what they should be doing. So using logic and reasons, it's not going to get the conversation deeper. So the key is to really find some way to tease them out, so that you get something a little bit more insightful. Hope you get the point. Have fun. There's no right or wrong. It's just understanding that logical answers doesn't get logical questions. Questions that elicit a logical response is not going to give you the best leverage to shift their perspective. Okay, so Sarah, back to you.
That's great. Thank you, Ben, for that that golden nugget. I love just how you mentioned that we need to get our clients out of a logical way of thinking. We need to bypass their logic in order to get them to a place where they're able to reflect. And this will help them to align with what matters most. Thank you, Ben. That's fantastic. What other thoughts or insights or questions do you have at this point?
Hi, I'm Toby Poom from Thailand.
Hi.
Can anybody hear me? Okay. So I'm really happy to see that you mentioned the word reactivity or reactive state. Okay, let me introduce myself a little bit. I provide training based on proactive state or proactive philosophy. And so recently, I facilitated a workshop for a company. And I also, in the afternoon of the day, I organized a session. It is called Crisis Transformation or Transforming Challenges into Opportunities. Okay. And one of the participants asked questions in order to change or transform the crisis or the challenge. And so I realized that he was in a reactive state by saying that he had been transferred from one position to another, and now he is waiting for the time to leave the company. So I then asked him to reframe his questions, and actually I kind of helped him of being more of a consultant at this point, saying that instead of just waiting for the time to be fired or to leave the company when he finds another job, maybe it's better to reframe the situation where he asks himself whether his personal values is in alignment with the company. And I could see his facial expression that he now looks at the situation, and he now has moved himself through my consulting, my opinion, and that he is now in the more empowering or proactive state instead of reactive. Okay. That's one story. Another one, yesterday while I was playing badminton, my brother, who is a monk, called me to help, what do you say? So convince a novice who wanted to leave the monkhood, the novicehood, through my coaching experience. So the novice couldn't wait, and he wanted to leave, the monkhood, the novicehood, today, meaning as of yesterday. So I started off with negotiation, because before he became a novice, he wanted to become a monk for the rest of his life. So after a few weeks, he realized that it's not for him, and he wanted to leave the monkhood, the novicehood. So I used, the reason why I mentioned this is because Ben mentioned the appreciative inquiry, instead, like when he mentioned that instead of asking what stopped you or holds you back, use AI, appreciative inquiry, like what's good about getting up at 9 o'clock, right? So I asked the novice, like, what are the good experience that you experienced, during your a few weeks novicehood, and the boy could give some answer at the beginning when I did the negotiation, right? Starting from, you wanted to be in a monkhood for the rest of your life, right? That means it would be about 80 years from now. So so I reduced. How about cutting down bit by bit, because the goal of the conversation was that the monk wanted the novice to wait until the 15th, which is in 6 days, but the boy couldn't wait. So the goal was that we would like him to wait until the day. So the best I could do was to convince him to, to wait, but as not in effect, right? Not as an effect of the situation, but wait proactively or enjoy the time left, 6 days left. So I used AI, and he could say some good things about, even though there were some bad experience. But when I asked about good experience, he had some experience to share, good experience to share. And finally, he was convinced that he now can wait until the 15th. He was quiet. He didn't say anything. But at the beginning, he said, "I want to leave now. I want to go home now. I want to go home now," all the time. So I think at the beginning, I did not expect much, but at the end, it's amazing that the boy was quiet, and the monk said that he's now fine, compared to the beginning. Sorry for the long story.
Great. Thank you. Well, it sounds like, you've really taken on what Ben mentioned, and it's resonated with you in your personal life as well as your professional life. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Does anybody else have any comments or questions at this point, or anything that you're wanting any clarification on? Okay. Well, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's come tonight to our webinar on coaching for personal fulfillment. I really hope you found it valuable. And yes, thank you so much from myself and from Joe also.
Great. Sarah, I just want to insert inside here some quick announcements since there's a lot of coaches from New Zealand here. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. So, well,